Good evening, I'm Mark Seal and welcome to Final Score. It's our sports show where we'll talk about the headlines and the newsmakers of the week. Tonight, boxing. Is it on the rise or is it declining? To get in on that debate are representatives on the local and regional boxing associations as well as the professional fight promoter. Now, of course, you, our viewers, can make your contributions and ask your questions via social media. WhatsApp number is 228-5562, while our Facebook handles are CBC Barbados or cbcnews.bb. With us tonight is the president of the Barbados Boxing Association, Richard Atwell, General Secretary of the Barbados Boxing Association and General Secretary of the Caribbean Boxing Association, Kathy Harper Hall, and boxing promoter and trainer, Sam Lane. Good evening to everyone, and a special good evening to Kathy. Happy 85th birthday. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm fine. And just let me correct you quickly, Mark. I'm no longer the General Secretary of the Barbados Boxing Association. I'm now acting as the treasurer for a while.
Excellent. Well done. Well, this past week, local amateur boxing celebrated a bronze medal at the CAC Games in El Salvador. But the international amateur boxing ranks saw the International Olympic Committee voting to strip the International Boxing Association of its status as the sport's world governing body. And two professional boxers in Anderson Kingpin Emmanuel and Ricardo Babyface Bomber Blackman won their pro cards in Guyana recently, but they had to get our Caribbean neighbors' help with the license. Now let's start with Richard Atwell. Some of the programs and plans implemented by the BBA have to be working as we had that bronze medal with Breedy, and they're coming home tonight as we celebrate that CSC medal. Tell us, how are things going with boxing from your perspective?
Thanks, Mark. From my perspective, boxing is actually getting back into the norm after the shutdown of COVID. You know, everybody was actually closed down. We still was able actually in the COVID to actually do some training. So we actually come into a sense of normalcy. And you can see from the results of Javali Breedy, who has been an exceptional boxer over the years and a very hard worker. Dividends being paid, I respect. There's also a very good communication and work relationship with the coaches, which I commend the last EC, the last management for getting that up and running. So we are basically coming back into a smooth heel, so to speak, a smooth running.
And what about as far as Breedy coming home with that medal? We know each boxer would have his own gym, his own trainer, but the Boxing Association, were you all in any way in contact with these boxers, making sure that they are being provided for, etc.?
Yeah, because Breedy is part of the elite program, which is actually funded by the BOA. And we're always in constant contact. If Breedy is he's still being managed by the association, basically. Although he has a lot of overseas commitments with different coaches as part of this training program. So we know every step of the way what Breedy is doing, the stage he's at. He's in close connection with his coach. And he has a very close relationship with one of our coaches, Lawrence Hunt. So we include into all our elites.
Excellent. And Kathy, excellent. And Kathy, with the news that the IBA will no longer run the amateur sports, what does that mean for boxing in the region and internationally, actually?
Run it. It's just that they are not recognized by the IOC. So they will not be allowed to run anything that has to do with the Olympics. The present president is all hell-bent on making sure that IBA remains IBA and that the countries remain members of IBA. and he's offering some really dangling some carrots. And the last who said, at the moment, every gold medalist gets 100,000 US dollars. He has promised that next year every gold medalist is going to be getting 200,000 US dollars. So the carrots are being dangled to keep the boxers remaining with IBO, keep the associations remaining with IBO. But those associations that recognize that the Olympics is important, those associations are not very happy with what is happening. And as far as we know, quite a number of countries are getting ready to join the new world boxing. They have just introduced a new International Boxing Association, World Boxing, and a number of associations seem to be getting ready to join that. So boxing is really at a crossroad right now, and it is a question of where the associations go and what decisions they make. The United States has already, well, they resigned from the International Boxing Association, and they have gone on to World Boxing. And quite recently, one of the continents, a whole continent, had indicated that they were planning to pull out of the international body. So it's just a wait and see thing right now.
And have the talks have begun though in Barbados and in the region as to what we will do as far as the new association is concerned, or is a done deal that that's where we're going?
No, there has been no talk in the Caribbean as to where we will go. At the moment, the Caribbean itself seems to be split, because we have some Caribbean countries that are really, really into the current president, and then we have other countries that, because they rely solely on their Olympic committees, they are sort of concentrating on wanting to stay with the Olympics. So we as a region, we have not come to a collective decision as to whether we're going to be going one way or the other.
Okay, and Sam, well done on training your two charges to their recent wins in Guyana, but what will it take to get fights back here? You know, we had the report from yourself, we had an interview with you where the two guys had to get Guyana's help in order to get their license, and then, you know, there's no boxing here in Barbados. What will it take to get pro fights back here?
Good night, everyone. I think the only thing you'll probably get if you have change in the sports minister, because this is the first time that a minister has been appointed as the authority in sports, not sports with an S. And he has totally chosen to neglect his obligation of appointing a boxing board. And this is 6 years. 6 years. He had 2 terms, and up to now, he has made it abundantly clear that he has absolutely no interest in professional boxing. But professional boxing is a sport, as far as I can remember. These guys now are getting older, and therefore I have to put their career in 4th gear, meaning that, for example, Anderson Kingpin Emmanuel is now 39 years old. I'm sure with the skills and the experience that he has, if he had the opportunity of boxing 6 years ago, he would have been world champion probably about 3 years ago. So Mr. Sports Minister here, he has definitely installed the biggest obstacles here in professional boxing that we've had of all time. For some person to totally object to having a boxing board so that the boxers can fight in their own country. So they came back to me, and I said, well, there's only one thing you can do is to ask permission from one of our Caribbean territories, meaning Guyana. And they agreed. They were astonished by the decision making made here by our own sports minister. And we acquired the licenses, and we went down there and we did our stuff. I'm very pleased with these 2 guys to leave their hometown to go in somebody's backyard and came out successful. But Anderson Emmanuel, because of his fantastic first round knockout performance and his experience in the amateur games, he has been awarded the opportunity to fight for the title in his very next fight in August. Should he win that fight, that's going to be a Caribbean title. Should he win that fight, he will go on to fight for international title. And should he win the international title, we have him on the fast track, probably within 2 more fights to fight for the world championship. And this is all based on his experience and his the quality of games that he won medals at. CSC, like that young Brady. So I'm very proud of him. Went and get the some training in the States to enhance his ability to perform. And with decisions like these, we can only see growth for boxing and sports in Barbados.
Okay, of course we'll take a break here, and of course we just have to make it be clear now, Sam, that bearing in mind that the minister is not here to respond to those things, let us keep it straight on about boxing and not point fingers, because that is quite unfair that the minister is not here to respond to your charges. But we'll take a pause here and come back with your questions and your comments as we continue debating the state of boxing. Welcome back to our guests and viewers. Let's now go to our social media pages for some questions. And let's look at the first one. Barbados hosted the Women's World Championship some years ago. What have we done since? Richard, would you like to take that one? I guess COVID would have played its part in that.
That was hosted in 2010. That was actually my first involvement in boxing, back in 2010. What we've then, the question is what, in terms of what we can host, since then we had our Caribbean Championships here. It might have been 2016, Barbados Beach Club. We also had Kimberley with the CSC Barbados. We have successes after that. So in terms of hosting an event, we did have the Caribbean Championships in 2016. But no World Games came after that. As you know, World Games come with a world cost.
Indeed. Yes, and let's go now to our second question. I think, Sam, you should be able to take this one. Until we get a boxing board, can't our fighters box elsewhere? What are the options for our professional fighters, Sam?
Well, because they've acquired a license out of Guyana, they can box anywhere in the world. So we're very appreciative of the Guyana Boxing Board of Control and the Sports Ministry there to assist us, and the athletes here from Barbados. We had this problem back in the days with Tyrone Downs when, Tyrone Downs fought for the world title, fighting, representing Trinidad. So when are we going to stand up and start to do things for our own? Why do we have to get the services and assistance from our Caribbean friends? It's time that Barbados can assist their own.
What about our professional fighters in the USA? We actually had an interview recently with the other Brady, who he was even looking at a different type of boxing. Are those avenues open to our fighters to go elsewhere and actually make a living?
Of course. There are huge opportunities now and from before for sports tourism. But that does not seem to be a priority for our ministry here because there are opportunities, like Kobe really said, he's connected to TV networks in the States, and they have always wanted to come here from the plays back with Shaka Henry, and these guys were a very economical cost. All you had to do was to make sure that they get a good hotel and they were able to see Bobs and so on. But you know, it's how you want to project the sport of boxing. Brady fellas like Brady who fought almost for a world title. He had a world title eliminated and he came very, very close to winning. You know, so that put us on the map here and give us the opportunity to bring television networks here. This will give Barbados and sports a lot of exposure. With Brady's networks that he's talking about, he can bring thousands of people here. Now here we got Anderson Emmanuel, a huge crowd in Guyana, and he had a first round knockout over a very experienced fighter. Now I'm hoping that both the Ministry of Sports and the Ministry of Tourism can get together and let's meet and let's see what we can do for our country and our people.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Kathy, I think you can take this one. Is there still boxing in our schools? I know you had a program where we were encouraging the youngsters to box and put down the guns, etc. Is there still boxing in the schools? I think you, Kathy, or Richard can answer this one.
Okay, as far as I'm aware, the National Sports Council has always had a boxing court at in schools. I know that Gary Bowen hired another boxing coach. There is a Cuban coach who is here, who is attached to the National Sports Council, who goes into school. The Barbados Boxing Association, however, the coaches commission, they have come up with a program to get boxing in schools, and I guess you heard the minister said a couple of weeks ago that there's a 200,000 grant for associations, and the Barbados Boxing Association is trying to capitalize on that to get into the schools with boxing. So there's that proposal that was submitted to this National Sports Council. We are waiting the response, and that will be the Boxing Association's efforts to really get boxing in the schools. The program you spoke about, which was the Ohana project, which was Drugs Over Guns, it was a community project, but it involved a number of young school children, and a lot of young people came out of that project. Most of them are still at school, and we're looking forward now to sending them to the Caribbean School Boys and Girls Championships that's coming up in Guyana in August.
Well, that takes care, I think, of the next question, because the next question was going to be if the Sports Council doesn't have a boxing coach since Coach Bowen retired. So I think we can go forward then to the next question, which Kathy, I see this one is actually specifically for you. And a question from one of our viewers: can't the Caribbean Championships come here? In other words, I think we had the Caribbean Championships in St. Lucia, and this viewer wants to know, can we bring the championships here? I think, Kathy, you or Richard could answer that one.
Well, as the secretary of the Caribbean Boxing Association, I can tell you that the plans were that the championships would move around from one country to the other. But recently, since the championships in Dominica last year, the America's Boxing Confederation, the AMBC, they have stepped in and they want to take over the Caribbean Championships. They have renamed it the AMBC Caribbean Championships, and they have been trying to get the International Boxing Association to fund it. And now it is all about what they want and not what we want anymore. Because initially, the next championship was supposed to have been in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and then another country would really put their hands up to host. Barbados has not asked for it since we had it in 2016, and for me, from a personal perspective, I would have loved Barbados to ask for it. You know, we need to give at least 2 years notice to the government if we are going to if we want to have it. But it certainly can come back to Barbados. It's just that at the moment, the way things are with the boxing and the International Boxing Association wanting to get a foothold in it through the continental body, it has sort of put things. Right now, we don't even know if there is going to be one, in 2023. Normally, by this time, we would have known the host country and would have been well ahead on our plan. But because they have come forward and decided to take it over, it is just at a standstill.
Okay, and let's go to the next question. Richard, I think definitely this one should be for you. What's preventing us from having a national boxing championship? This viewer is bringing it home, not Caribbean, but can we have a national boxing championship? Kind of kickstart boxing again here in Barbados, a national championship. How about that?
Yes, Marta's actually on the card. Have a national boxing championship. Just ask something about the in terms of the government how this was the meeting with the same NBC, and there'll be no Caribbean championships this year. I think the involvement of the NBC came up through the same split with the Caribbean groups, and that's why the NBC was able to actually come in to kind of take over the Caribbean championships. But a national championship was actually in the planning stage for a while, but as in terms of having the matchups that we can have a full slate. Because sometimes we end up with a lot of boxers in one division, two divisions, and then very lean on the other divisions. So we can't get a complete card to say we can have a national championship. So we're actually building up those numbers so that we'll be able to have a decent national championship.
Okay, and I think we have time for one more social media question. Kathy, I don't know if you can answer this one. The years that it was proven the Olympic judges were being biased, were there any Bajan contests that stand out? I guess what they're trying to ask, it has been proven that the judges have been biased in the past for the Olympic Games. Were there any bouts that we figured that Barbados could have done better, that we might say, yeah, we were hard done by the judges? I guess that would be for someone who really focused on the boxing.
Not in the Olympics, not in the Olympics, but certainly in the last World Championship, where Jabali, where the boxer won the bout, and then the judges had him winning the bout, and then it was overturned by persons who, who claimed that they were observers, and they overturned it, and we felt that was really, really, really unreasonable, but it happened. But for Olympics, we have not had any. It's not, as a matter of fact, it was in Rio that they really had all this big problem with the officials, and we didn't have a boxer at the Olympics in Rio.
Okay, so we'll take another short break here and return with more on the state of boxing. Well, welcome back to Final Score. Time for our parting words from our guests. Ladies first, Kathy, wearing your regional hat. In the short term, what are some of the plans that we can look forward to for regional boxing?
Well, what we have looked at is that for the countries, while we are waiting to hear what's going to happen with the Caribbean Championship, we have agreed that countries will put on smaller tournaments and invite each other. And St. Lucia has started the ball rolling. They have planned the OECS Invitational, and they were planning the OECS Invitational, and as many countries as possible can go. And what we plan to do, therefore, is to ask each country to just put on a card and invite other countries. I hope that Barbados will do something like that. We have a tournament in November, and no, we normally do and we normally invite. So maybe we will use that one as well. But right now for the region, it is just doing some friendly tournaments.
Okay. And Richard, as far as Barbados is concerned, our short-term plans?
Our short-term plans is to continue to grow our memberships in terms of gyms and athletes as well. As I mentioned earlier, why we have not been able to put on a national championship because we haven't had the numbers in the wide range of boxing categories that we have done national championships. So we are getting new numbers coming into the association. We're going to bring more members in, more boxers in. Also, we're going to try to assist in the transition of boxers who are looking to move on to professional ranks. Mojibali is moving in that direction. We also have to make sure that he's actually fully recovered from that injury with his center, because his next goal will be the Pan Am qualifiers. So we have to make sure that he is actually fully fit for that. We have to make a decision on that.
And from quickly, and from what you have heard of his injury, will he be ready though for Pan Am?
I have to get a medical report on that. I haven't got that medical report.
Okay, no problem. We'll look forward for that update. And Sam, quickly, what do you, as far as your boxers are concerned, who are they fighting next and where?
Their next scheduled show is in August, the end of August. And like I said, Anderson Kingpin Emmanuel, he'll be fighting for the Caribbean WBF heavyweight title. Ricardo Blackman will also have a fight down there. But I would like some person in Barbados to move the Minister of Sports to please install a boxing board of control immediately so we can have at least one warm-up fight for these boxers next month here in Barbados. And so he can prepare properly for that card in August. So it's going to be a very, very difficult opponent.
Okay, thanks to our guests, Kathy Harper Hall, Richard Atwell, and Sam Lane. It was a pleasure. And of course, we'd love to have you back to discuss your developments later on. And Kathy, I can hear your party in the background. Happy 85th birthday again, and get back to your party.
Thank you so very much.
No problem, Kathy. We'll be back to wrap up final score in a moment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As we wrap up this week's show, here's what's coming up this weekend. The BCS Super 50 Cup resumes tomorrow with the second series that starts from 9:45 a.m. The ICC World Cup qualifiers, well, they continue tomorrow as West Indies in a must-win game against Scotland, live on MCTV's ESPN Channel 308 from 3 a.m. The BABA Premier League has a double header at the Community College from 6 p.m. The BFA Premier Women's League has a triple header tomorrow, while the Men's Premier League also a triple header, but on Sunday, both days begin at 4 p.m. Well, that's our program for this week. Join us again next week as more analysts and newsmakers join us on Final Score. Good night, and remember, let's be careful out there.